The lights inside the arena hadn't even fully dimmed yet, and somehow, every single camera was already pointed at one person. Not the stage. Not the hosts. Not even the giant reunion moment everyone had been waiting years to see. It was Jimin. And what happened next at the 2026 American Music Awards with BTS left fans completely speechless. Because nobody expected him to walk in looking like that. The screams started before his face even appeared on the main screen. Just imagine this for a second. Thousands of fans packed outside the venue. Giant LED billboards flashing BTS's name across Las Vegas Boulevard. Reporters practically climbing over each other for the perfect angle. Security teams rushing through crowded hallways. Flashbulbs exploding like fireworks every second. And then, a black SUV slowly rolled to a stop. The crowd froze. For one split second, the energy changed completely. You could feel it. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just pure anticipation. And the moment the door opened, the entire atmosphere detonated. Oh my God, it's Jimin! The screams were deafening. Phones shot into the air so fast it looked like lightning. Fans were crying before he even took 3 steps. And here's the craziest part. He wasn't even trying to steal the spotlight. But somehow, he became the spotlight. Wearing a sleek black tailored suit with silver detailing that shimmered under the camera flashes, Jimin stepped out with this calm, almost unreal confidence. His hair moved slightly in the Vegas wind. His expression was soft, relaxed, but his presence? Absolutely overwhelming. Even veteran reporters looked stunned. One photographer was caught whispering, "Why does he look like a movie star walking into the final scene?" And honestly, that's exactly what it felt like. But what nobody realized at that moment was that this entrance was only the beginning of something much bigger. Because inside the arena, something unexpected was already happening. Something involving the audience, the cameras, and one moment that would completely take over social media before the night was over. But we'll get to that in a second. Because first, you need to understand just how emotional this night already was for BTS fans. For years, ARMY had dreamed about moments like this. The return. The reunion. The feeling of seeing all 7 members together again on one of America's biggest stages. And as fans filled the venue, you could literally see people shaking from excitement. Some had traveled across countries. Others had waited outside since sunrise. One fan held a sign that read, "We survived the wait." And honestly, that hit hard. Because this wasn't just another awards show. This felt personal. It felt historic. But then, something strange started happening the second BTS entered the building. The energy shifted directly toward one member. Again. And again. And again. Every hallway clip that leaked online? Jimin went viral. Every fan cam? Millions of views within minutes. Even random backstage staff were being caught staring at him as he walked past. At one point, a camera operator accidentally forgot to switch shots during a live feed because he was still focused on Jimin smiling at fans near the barricade. And viewers noticed immediately. Social media exploded. Why is everyone obsessed with Jimin tonight? But the answer wasn't simple. Because it wasn't just his visuals. It wasn't just his outfit. It was something deeper. Something emotional. There was this strange mix of confidence and softness in him that night that people couldn't stop talking about. Like he knew exactly how important this moment was. But there was also something else. Something almost vulnerable hidden underneath the smiles. Did you notice it too? Because fans definitely did. And things became even more intense once BTS finally entered the main arena. The crowd erupted so loudly the hosts had to pause for several seconds before continuing the show. You could see celebrities turning around in their seats trying to catch a glimpse of them. Some were clapping. Others were pulling out phones. But then the camera zoomed directly onto Jimin. And that's when everything changed. The audience reaction became absolutely insane. The second his face appeared on the giant screen behind the stage, the arena shook. Not metaphorically. Actually shook. People stood up screaming. Fans covered their mouths in shock. Even people who weren't ARMY started reacting because the sound level was genuinely unbelievable. And Jimin? He looked completely overwhelmed. He smiled shyly, looked down for a second, then gave this tiny wave that somehow made the screams even louder. How is that even possible? Seriously. How does one person create that kind of reaction just by smiling? But wait. What happened 30 minutes later somehow became even more emotional. Because during one quiet transition between performances, cameras briefly captured a candid interaction between the BTS members. And fans immediately noticed something unusual. Jimin looked emotional. Not sad. Not upset. Just deeply emotional. The kind of expression someone makes when they're trying to fully absorb a moment before it disappears forever. And then Jungkook leaned over and said something to him. Nobody could hear the words. But whatever he said, Jimin suddenly laughed while covering his face.
That tiny moment instantly went viral. Millions of reposts. Millions. People were zooming into lip movements, analyzing reactions, trying to figure out what had just happened. But that wasn't the real reason the clip exploded. It was because fans realized something terrifyingly emotional in that moment. BTS looked genuinely happy, not performing happiness, not forcing smiles for cameras, actually happy. And after everything they had been through together, that realization hit fans like a truck. But the biggest moment of the night still hadn't happened yet. Not even close. Because eventually, the hosts announced BTS, and the entire building transformed into chaos. Purple lights flooded the arena. The intro music started echoing through the speakers. The crowd immediately lost control. And then, one by one, the members walked onto the stage. The camera cuts were cinematic, fast, explosive, electric. But every single time the camera landed on Jimin, the audience reaction became noticeably louder. Even the hosts looked shocked. At one point, the live broadcast audio almost peaked from the screaming alone. And online viewers started posting the exact same comment over and over again. Jimin is owning this entire night. But why? What was making this moment feel so different? The answer came seconds later. Because during the group's acceptance speech, something completely unexpected happened. While the members were thanking fans and speaking about their journey, the camera suddenly zoomed toward Jimin again. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But then fans noticed his eyes. They looked glossy, like he was holding back tears. And the second ARMY realized that the atmosphere inside the arena changed instantly. You could feel the emotion spreading across the crowd. Thousands of people watching one man trying to stay composed in one of the biggest moments of his life. And then came the moment nobody will ever forget. Jimin stepped closer to the microphone. The crowd immediately became quieter. Not silent, but softer. Like everyone instinctively knew this mattered. He took a breath, smiled nervously, and said, "We missed you too." That was it. One sentence. But the emotional damage? Unreal. The entire arena erupted. Fans crying. Celebrities clapping. People literally hugging each other in the audience. Because suddenly, this wasn't about awards anymore. It wasn't about charts, or headlines, or fashion. It was about connection, about years of loyalty, about people growing up with BTS and finally seeing them together again under those lights. And you could see it in Jimin's face. He felt it too. But here's the part nobody expected. After the speech ended, something happened backstage that made the night even more unforgettable. A reporter later revealed that several celebrities were specifically asking to meet Jimin after the broadcast. Think about that for a second. In a room full of global stars, people were still talking about him. One insider described the energy around him as magnetic. Another said, "The second he walks into a room, everybody notices." And honestly, we all saw it happening live. But there's one final moment from that night that completely broke the internet. And if you blinked, you probably missed it. As BTS prepared to leave the venue, fans gathered outside one final time. Security lines tightened. Cars waited near the entrance. The atmosphere was loud, emotional, chaotic. But then, Jimin suddenly stopped walking. Just stopped. He turned toward the crowd. And for a few seconds, everything slowed down. Fans screamed his name. Some were crying uncontrollably. Others were just staring at him in disbelief. And instead of rushing away, he stayed. He looked at the fans carefully, almost like he wanted to remember every face. Then he placed his hand over his heart, bowed deeply, and smiled. A real smile. Not celebrity perfect. Not camera perfect. Just genuine. And somehow, that tiny gesture became the most emotional image of the entire night. Because in that moment, people weren't seeing a superstar. They were seeing a human being overwhelmed by love. And maybe that's why this moment exploded across the internet the way it did. Not because of the glamour, not because of the awards, but because people felt something real. In an industry filled with scripted moments and rehearsed reactions, this felt honest. And honestly, that's rare. That's powerful. That's unforgettable. By the next morning, clips of Jimin at the AMAs were everywhere. TikTok edits with millions of views. Fan compilations titled, "The Night Jimin Became the Main Character." Tweets with hundreds of thousands of likes. Even non-fans were asking, "Wait, who is this guy?" And maybe that's the craziest part of all. Because after all these years, after all the success, after breaking records across the world, Jimin still somehow found a way to surprise people, to make them emotional, to make them stop scrolling, to make them feel something. And really think about this. How many artists can walk into a room and completely change the emotional temperature without even speaking? Very few. But Jimin did it that night. Over and over and over again. And maybe the reason this moment resonated so deeply is because people saw more than just fame. They saw vulnerability, warmth, humility. A person carrying years of pressure while still smiling gently at fans through all of it. That's why people connected to him. That's why the videos went viral. That's why the crowd reactions sounded almost unreal. Because for one night at the 2026 American Music Awards, the entire world seemed to pause and collectively realize something at the exact same time. Jimin isn't just a performer. He's an experience. And honestly, what was your favorite moment from BTS at the AMAs? Did Jimin surprise you too? Or was there another member who completely stole your attention that night? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because ARMY is definitely going to have a lot to say about this one. And if this moment gave you chills even through a screen, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with another BTS fan who still can't stop thinking about that unforgettable night.